Good morning. Welcome back and thanks for joining me. It's Judy from Thistledew Creations, and today I am playing with paper bags. I'm going to cut a few up in order to get pages for this little journal that I made in front of the television. I made the cover. Just while I was watching TV the other night, I played around with a paper bag, made this cover and decoupaged on it as well, collaged on it as well. And what I've done is I've used the bottom of the bag in such a way that I can do a tall tag in the end here that goes right down to the fold. And then there's also this other pocket beside it that will need to have an angled top on the pieces, or it could be a bunch of small pieces. So I've got that on both sides, and I will try to, once I get cutting up a bag here, I'll try to do another one if I can remember how I did it. I'm pretty sure I can. So yeah, I just want to make some pages for this, and I thought, why not make the pages out of paper bag? And that way I'm decreasing my stash of paper bags, because I've got two great big boxes full of paper bags right now. So need to use some up, and I will also be creating some scraps when I do that. So I've got some stuff set ready to cover with the scraps, cover one side at least. I've got these little cards, which are 2.5 by 2.5. So these are from my niece's Jack and Jill shower party. This was for the cooler of cheer. And these ones were the actual entrance tickets to it. So these are going to be perfect for tags. And these are going to be either cute little chubby tags, which I could totally see myself doing, is cute little tags with a tab on the end and doing a tiny little book that they go in, or even using these to make a book, but certainly covers. So I will cover a bunch of those with the scraps. We may not get to that in this video. That's something I can do in front of the TV. I may show you one or two and then do the rest in front of the TV with my pile of scraps. But the first thing I want to do here is take off the top edge where you've got this nice scoop already taken out for you. And I thought I would cut this big enough that I can make a pocket out of it, so that it's not really scrap. So I'm going to put it in the other way. And let's do it 3 inches tall. So just lining it up at the top. And then I'll play around with how I will fold that. I might make it almost make it like a little double fold booklet that's a pocket in the front or something. I want to play with that idea. I want to play with ways to use paper bags that you're using the whole thing. I always end up with a lot of scraps. So we'll come back to this idea, maybe in this video or maybe in the next one. I'd really like to focus on getting some pages made for this. So for this, my pages are going to want to be, my glue's off to the side here. Don't think I'm going to need them much. So the height of them needs to be about 6.5, 6 3/4 could work. 6 3/4 is there. That gives me a nice small border around it. So let's do 6 3/4. So I'm basically going to try to get a few pages out of this section before it folds. So 6 3/4 is there. Perfect. Just get this bottom flap out of my way. go all the way through for me. Let me just get that again. 6 3/4. Quite a few layers of paper there. There we go. So there's the 6 3/4, and then the width of the pages could be about 11.5. I think 11.5. So here is where I don't really want like a crease in the middle of my page, but it doesn't really matter because I'm not going to leave them blank. I'm going to put stuff on top of them. But what does, if I fold it like this, fold it, like, just pull it out flat, and if I did 11.5 and let this be the fold of my signature, so then that would be 5 3/8. No, 5 and I'm bad with math in my head. I'm only on my second coffee. I'll go right to my calculator. 11.5 divided by 2 is 5 3/4. Not 5 3/8. So if I go 5 3/4, that gives me 1 page. And let's see if it is accurate enough. 11.5. So that's 1 page in my paper bag junk journal. Let's see if we can get another one, same way, using the fold. 5 3/4. Your dimensions might be different. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what size paper bag I started with. I didn't measure it before I started. I was just kind of playing around. So that's 2 pages. Now this page is a lot more crinkled than I would like, and it's 2. So that one I'll set aside and I'll use it for backing something. So I will have a pile of scraps, but my intention is to use those scraps in the next few crafting sessions. I won't necessarily use them today. Okay, so then we'll do another 3-inch pocket section. I think 3 inches is a good height. Those together, and then I've forgotten my measurement again already. 6 3/4, I think it was. Oh, this ruler's terrible. I need to get one that you can see better. 6 3/4. And that just, again, it's coming to the same point on this bag. I don't know if it's the same size as the other one. It seems like it is. And then open it up, use one of the folds as the fold of the signature, and 5 3/4. I'm getting 2 pages out of each paper bag, but I'm going to get more out of the offcuts, more different projects out of the offcuts. So that's 4 pages, 4 inserts, 8 pages, 16 sides in my book. I think I want a few more. So we'll dig into another bag. We got 2 more of the same size scrap. Let's see how close they are to the exact same size as the other bag. Pretty darn close, not identical, but they will be used for something. Now I've got 2 bags here that have brands on them, so I don't want to use those necessarily. I guess I can use one side of them. These are from where I work. So my 3-inch. Actually, no, that won't help me. I was going to say if my 6. I'll go ahead and do it the same way. Get my 3-inch strip out of it, and then why can't I remember this dimension? Should be writing it down so that you can see it anyway, shouldn't I? So I'm doing my height here first. So 6. It's turning out to be 6 5/8. I'm pretty sure it was 6 3/4. I may have to trim them. Six 3/4. Now, because it has that logo on it, and this is going to be pages in a book, I don't think I'm going to use that if I can help it. So I might have to cut this one a little differently. If I can get my, I might only get one. I'll go one at 5 3/4. And I'm just finding that I have to kind of adjust the paper a little bit so that it's flush top and bottom. The bags aren't perfect. I'm sure they're made by big machines that don't, you know, double check themselves. They're not made by crafters like you and me. And then this piece, if I can get 11.5 without having the Home Hardware logo in there, then that's what I would like to do to get a second one out of this. So let me just cut that away. This piece I can still use to back tags, because I can use this side. And then this piece now, I can get my 5 3/4 out of it. Yeah, just. Probably didn't need to do that. I just needed to figure out which way to fold it to get these scraps. Okay, so that's 6 pages, 12 sides, 24 surfaces. That's plenty, because that once you put pockets and tags and tucks and belly bands and all the things, that's going to be plenty of stuff. So I'm just going to make sure they're all lined up at the bottom. somehow didn't get them all the same with, probably again, just because the bag's not perfect and it's not sitting in there perfect. Just looking around for a cutting mat, and I'm pretty sure I have one somewhere here. I remember tucking one under something the other day. Odd. I mean, it's not that odd that I can't remember where I tucked it, but I should be able to see it. What I do is just grab an old magazine or something. Calendar. And I'll just use this ruler. And I'll just trim these down so that there's no rogue pieces that are a lot taller than the others. I don't get into doing this a lot either. But since I'm doing all cut edges, I want to continue with all cut edges. A lot of times I like torn edges in my journals. And I could do that with this kind of a book. Certainly sit and tear paper bags in front of the TV. There, and then it'll probably need trimmed this way as well, just because those pages get pushed out in the middle. And you know, if you're the type that does a lot of page edges, like lace on the edge of the pages, you probably don't need to worry about this because it would be camouflaged. I don't know for sure why I'm doing it, but I just thought I would do this. There. It's pretty nice and crisp. And then it gives me a bunch of little strips. Maybe I'll make a little tassel out of those or something. Probably not, but you know, I'm just setting them aside for today right now, because I could make a little tassel out of them. Okay, so there's my pages. There's my cover. One thing I did on this that it's too late to change on this one is I put my pocket thingies at the bottom, and of course I could have flipped it and put them at the top. And the reason I would want them at the top of the book is because usually there's pockets at the bottom of the page with something tucked in it. So that bottom of the book is always thicker. So if you had these pockets at the top, it would balance it out thickness wise on the book when it's full. but I had already started collaging with my writing all this way before I realized it. So this being the prototype, I'm okay with it, but when I do the next one, I will make sure that I decoupage it with the pockets on the top. So this will be right side up. So just keep that in mind too. If you are going to do one of these, you'll probably want to pay attention to that when you do your collaging on the cover. You're decorating. If you're not collaging, you're probably still decorating. So I get these, keep these lined up. I've got some loose strands there. And I think I'm going to use some pink string to sew this in. Now I could make it no sew and glue them in, but I like doing the 3-hole pamphlet stitch actually. Actually, I've got this green faux leather. I'll use that because it'll go with this little bit of green that's in the florals. I have a great big needle for that. If you haven't seen it, this is my book binding box. It's a vintage turquoise plastic sewing box, the kind that spans out and then opens up. And I keep strings and clamps and templates and little snips in case I can't find my scissors, and all different kinds of cord and string to do the boxes, and then of course needles. So I keep sort of everything that I need for binding books in here. Let me just see if I do have a template that's the right height. If not, I'll just quickly make one. Yeah, I probably have to make one. You probably want to see how to make one anyway. So you don't really need a template, but it does help you to keep your holes evenly spaced on the book. So it can be made out of any kind of paper. It doesn't matter. It can just be like scrap copy paper or something. I will just grab a piece of scrap copy paper. It doesn't matter how wide it is. All that matters is that it's the height of your book. So I just do that to make it the height of my book. Give that a little look so that it will cut nicely for me. So that is the base of your template. You fold it in half lengthways, long and skinny ways. Crease it, then fold it in half the other way. And this is going to give you the center of your book. And then you take and come in about an inch or so, depending on how big your book is and where you want those holes. Sometimes you need them in a certain spot. Like if you're going through a doily and you want to go through a hole in the doily, you might want it in a certain spot. Then I fold that down and fold the other side down the other direction. And I do that because technically if you fold them both the same direction, the top one is slightly off. So if you fold them back to back like this, then they're more even. It's a very small, minute amount. It's not something you necessarily have to worry about, but technically, if you're interested in technically, that's why I do that. And then for myself, my vision is failing and I need new glasses. I'm getting them next Tuesday, actually. I just do this so I can see where I'm supposed to punch my holes. And then take my, I better thread my needle. This is pretty easy to thread. If you have a big enough needle, it just goes through easy because it's stiff enough to hold itself. Okay, so then I take some clamps and I make sure I have my book the way I want it. So this is right side up, it doesn't really matter. I just want to make sure that my pages are lined up and how I want them. So line them up top to bottom, get them down in there and sort of eyeball top to bottom in the book. My pages are definitely going to need some edging because they just don't look right. My cutting is not practiced. I'm going to go with that. And then I will clamp on the outer edges, one at each side. And then I'll put my template on and clamp it on the opposite sides, like that. Make sure that everything is down in there. Sometimes what I do for that, which is kind of fun, is I'll go like that. Give it a swat. Then you can take your pokey tool, and I have this piece of foam that came out of something. I don't know if it was packaging for something or, like, I really don't remember where this came from. But I take this and put it underneath and poke my holes. My pokey tool, got a couple of them, and they should both be in the same. There's one. So I have one that's like a screwdriver end, and I have another one with a curved tip. I was just using it yesterday. There it is. Which is more like a cricket weeding tool. I use both of them. This one does a slightly bigger hole, so that might be good for the faux suede. So then I just go straight down into the hole, and it goes into the pad, which is very dense foam. So that prevents me from poking my work surface. Especially important if you're working on your dining room table, which I am, but this isn't my dining room table surface. This is a piece of countertop laminate I got from work. It was a sample when the color was brand new and there weren't any samples available, small samples available yet. I ordered a large piece of this for a sample. I'm going to keep this because I'm going to make more of these books in the next couple of days. So I'm going to mark right on it, large paper bag journal. And I'll just mark the length on it so I don't have to measure it next time. So this is 7 1/16. Put that right back with my bookbinding kit. Put my pencil away. I'm getting a little crowded over in this corner. I think I revamped it last week and I've just got too much in one area. My turntable won't turn. Okay, so that is ready to sew. So 3-hole pamphlet stitch. You need enough to tie on the one end. So I think I want to do my tie on the outside of this one so that it's not so bulky. So I'm going to start from the outside, which on most of my journals, if you go back and look where I've made junk journals online, on YouTube, I tie a bow in the middle inside, but this time I think I want to see the green bow on the outside. It might not be a bow, it might just be a knot. But I'll start in the middle on the outside and go in. Pull that through. And I want to make sure that this piece doesn't go. It stays. So I'm going to throw that under a clamp. The other piece to come all the way through. And then I want to go out. Doesn't matter whether you go top or bottom. You go back out. And with this stuff, I like to make sure that this isn't twisted so that it lays nicely in here. like that. And I think pull that all the way out. Just moving this down. And then you go all the way to the other end and go back in. Again, it doesn't matter whether you go out in and out the top or the bottom, because it works out the same either way. You do have to be kind of careful. See, I'm pulling pretty hard and this faux suede is almost torn through. So I have to be a little more gentle with it than what I'm being. Pull it through. I just want to see which one I have to pull there. So that's a nice non-twisted strand. And then you're going to go back in, back out, I should say. I'm going to just cut that off because I realize already that I don't need it all. So I'm going to go back out the same hole and come up on the opposite side of that string that goes through the middle. Pretty tight with this stuff. So now on the inside, that's nice and neat and low profile. It's not going to be a bump in there. And then on the outside, I have enough left to tie myself a knot, possibly a bow. And I just love the way that picks up the greens in this label and these little strips of fabric that I put on. You want to make sure that everything is tight, but not, you can't do too tight with this stuff or else it'll break. I used to be an avid jewelry maker, and I used a lot of this faux suede for inexpensive necklaces. So I'm doing 2 knots. I don't know if I have quite enough to do a bow, but I'll try because it would be cute. Yep. And then if you're concerned about that coming undone, you can just put a little dot of 3-in-1 or something like that. And help it to stay put. If you want to, you can dangle charms off of the long ends, but I think I'm going to cut these off. Now you could, I've got some little scraps here left. So now I might want to keep this handy and possibly use it somewhere inside the journal. Take off my clamps and my book is bound. And instantly I love it. I mean, I already loved the cover. Just a combination of stuff that was sitting over there by where I watch TV. Just some things I had, some music paper, some tiny bits of scrapbook paper, a couple pieces of fabric, a piece of ribbon or lace, and a piece of string that I was torn out with book pages. So it was string that was binding a book before. So then we've got our pages to decorate and our tag. We got to make tags to go in here and ephemera to go in here. So we'll do that in another video, but I wanted to thank you for joining me today and let me know what you think of this little project. If you'd like to try to tackle one, Oh, I did tell you that I would try to show you how I did this folding, how I figured that out. So basically, we've got the bottom of a paper bag, and I basically just folded it in half. Now on the one that I used, it wasn't cut off so flush here. See, that's almost flush. It was out about an inch, so I had to fold that in and glue it. But in this case, you would just glue this shut. I'll go ahead and make one right now for my next one. Just glue this shut. I'm using 3-in-1 so that it'll be dry quicker. So just go all the way across. Glue that shut. So you just got the bottom of your bag and that piece that's left. So right here. That's the bottom of a bag. Just glue that shut and then fold it in half. And I don't think it matters. This one has writing on it. It has our SKU number and the fact that it's recycled and all of that. But this is going to be collaged all over. So it's okay to leave the bottom of the very bottom outside of the bag can be the outside of your cover because you're going to cover it. Whether you just cover it with one piece of scrapbook paper or whether you do it like I did and, you know, collage on it. I love doing collages and using up my scraps, so that's what I'll do. And then just crease that really well. You can turn it inside out and crease it again just so that it opens and closes really easily. And then there's your book. And you've got, oh, I've got a couple more things to glue down here. So have I got that right? Let me see here. Yeah. In here between these two is where you have room for a big tag or bookmark. And same thing here in between these two pieces. So I still need to glue this down, and this stays unglued. Now, if you wanted to keep that as a tuck spot, I suppose you could. So you could have this glued shut so that that is still a place for a tag, and you could leave this open so that it's easier to get things in and out of here, but I glued mine shut, and I planned to make some pockets that are kind of angled at the top, or not pockets, some tags that are angled at the top. Different shape than you usually see, but I thought it would be cool. So there's my next one ready to be collaged. So maybe we'll start with that in the first video, and this will be the second video showing you how to put the pages in. But I just love this little size, and I think it'll be a cute gift. Just as it is, it could be a notebook or an art journal, sketchbook. But if you junk journal it up with pockets and tucks and things like that, it could be a lot of fun. So join me for the next one. I look forward to seeing how this project ends up, and I hope you do too. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, but most of all, have a great day and happy crafting.